Sean Sewell here with the Engearment.com podcast. Really excited to have on the show a man who I don't know how to do the introduction correctly to give him justice. He's works with Mike Sisson with a Primal Blueprint and Primal Kitchen, MOFO supplements. We're going to get into that. World Championship speed golfer, among many other things. Brad Kearns. Brad, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh my gosh, Sean, it's such an honor to be on. I called you out as having the best background of any podcast out there. So if you're going to put this on YouTube, people can know what I'm talking about because, oh my gosh, it's just so exciting to learn all about Sean. He doesn't even have to talk. He can just sit there. I see probably 24 kettlebells. I see the split board, which I now know what a split board is because we did our little warm up in the green room. So yeah, I'm loving what you're doing and glad to be on.
Well, I appreciate it very much, sir. And his background as well, he has a great podcast, Get Over Yourself, which I love the title. He covers great topics. The content you put out, Mark, it's just stellar. It's helpful. It's exciting. And your personality just jumps out audio and video-wise. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And it's a Friday afternoon, which I don't usually do on Friday afternoons, so we're going to let loose. All right, so let's get into it. Gosh. So you're working on a new project, MOFO. Can we talk about MOFO for a moment?
Yes, that is a acronym that stands for Male Optimization Formula with Organs. And I'm sure some of your listeners are into the ancestral living scene. Maybe they've heard of Ancestral Supplements, this wonderful company that makes 100% grass-fed animal organ supplements from grass-fed cattle in New Zealand. So they're really popular with the distinct products that people like to take for functional health, and it's been a long time ancestral tradition for consuming organ meats. We're not all great at that with our daily cooking strategies. I'm still not very good at cooking liver. Now I just eat it frozen and raw because it tastes okay and I don't have to worry about cooking. But we made a new supplement specifically for testosterone optimization, optimizing male reproductive sexual health. And the funny acronym just came out, so I take credit for being the wise guy that nicknamed it MOFO. But like I told you, there's a lot of people pitching stuff to throw down your throat these days, and you can find testosterone booster formulas on Amazon until your eyes spin. And so what we wanted to do here was kind of make this a comprehensive lifestyle movement where we're connecting with the modern male in the developed world and noticing this massive problem in today's society, which is decline in the average male testosterone levels. And since the 1980s, it's been declining at a rate of 1% per year. This is the general average for the population. So, it's been 40 years since the 80s or something, so we're down, massively down from the male experience of our grandfathers or even our fathers. And there's many reasons for this. You probably heard of the compounds in the environment, the estrogenic compounds, which are now, greatly accelerated from the old days. We're drinking out of plastic bottles, ones that have been heated up in the car while we're out hiking. Then we come in, and so we're getting dosed with poisons. But mainly it's because of hectic, high stress modern life. And one thing that at least I can reference in my age group, I'm 55 now. So about half my life, Sean, has been free from technology, free from hyperconnectivity, no devices. And then the other half, these things came into the picture, and it's completely different than my experience of childhood and even, into some of my adult years where, we'd go do a workout. I used to be a pro triathlete. I trained all day. I'd come home and relax. I wasn't in front of a screen as soon as I walked in the door or at a stoplight during the workout. And so we had all this downtime where you could just relax or sit in the sun or talk to friends and have an actual social interaction before the age of, endless social media and hyperstimulation. So there's so many ways that we can kind of try to reconnect with our genetic expectations for health, our ancestral experience. And that's what you mentioned. Mark Sisson is his name. And we've been been working together for a long time promoting the primal movement. So you probably heard of Mark Stanley Apple and the books we've written, like the Primal Blueprint, the Keto Reset Diet, the 21-day total body transformation he's showing to the camera. So, this ancestral health scene has really exploded in recent times, and that's really great to notice. So this is kind of a focal point of that's really near and dear to my heart, because I used to be an old-time athlete, and instead of just telling stories about back in the day, I'm still trying to go for it, man. I feel like we need that edge in all the way through life. So I still have these wonderful goals, and I'm sure we'll talk more about how to keep that edge going throughout life.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love it. And yeah, he's being very modest by his accomplishments. Number one ranked USA Masters track and field, age 55 to 59 high jumper. And I've seen the video. That's impressive. Number three world ranked professional triathlete. Yeah, he's very accomplished. So, words of wisdom coming from him are very meaningful. And when I mentioned you're going to be on the podcast this week, my fellow trainers at my gym, they got goosebumps. I'm no kidding. Goosebumps ran into the office and grabbed these books, the Primal Blueprint and the Primal Blueprint 21-day total body transformation. And then they showed me the 8 honorary ideas as well as the foundation ones. And I was like, yeah, these are great. Play with dogs, get outside, structure, pick up heavy things, exercise intensely, briefly. All of these are like in my DNA and the way people I know train, which we're probably gonna get into about intense, high intensity interval or repeat training, like Craig Marker was on talking about. Yeah, how to live your best life, how to thrive, right? And it's a lot of these little things, little adaptations that we're going to just give you guys nuggets of wisdom that's actionable on. So that's a lot to say right there. But so at 55, what is your average day or morning routines? What are your best practices?
Yeah, I'm glad you prefaced the question with my age, because I'm seeing, there's a little bit of a different perspective, different parameters here, and I refuse to, succumb to saying that. But I also have been, someone second guessed that quip. When they say age is just a number, hey, it's just a number. And I remember someone kind of stopped me one time and said, it's not just a number. And if you keep saying it's just a number and you're not respecting, the urgent need to, optimize your life for whatever age you're in and make those concessions to age so that you're not trying to do the same stupid stuff that you did when you were younger, we have to face reality. So it's not just a number, but we all know that this has been scientifically proven. Deepak Chopra, the great New Age author, has been talking about this for decades, that there are actually 3 relevant ages to the human. And one is chronological age, and that's the one we reference most often. How many birthdays have you had since the season of the heavy rains when Sean was born on the Great Savannah or whatever, right? But there's also a concept called biological age, and that is your relative functionality in comparison to people of the same chronological age, right? You got to have a reference point somewhere. So you can go and get your blood tested. You can check your testosterone levels. You can check the number of pull-ups that you can do, your time in the 1-mile run, and all these benchmarks that will actually give you a relevant biological age relative to your peer group. And then the final one, which is what Deepak focuses on and identifies as by far the most important, is your psychological age and how old that you feel. And of course, this is going to be strongly correlated with your biological age. If you're sorry ass, bad shape, bad attitude, and you're not going to feel youthful unless you have that body to go along with it. But of course, they're not exactly the same, right? They go hand in hand. And so, nurturing this youthful spirit throughout life is super important. I think that's what I was kind of getting at when I'm saying I still have athletic goals. But in the great book, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind, Chopra talks about the most common or the most profound common factor found among pockets of centenarians around the globe was this youthful spirit and this sense of independence. The Blue Zones has now taken this to a popular level where they go and identify these centenarian pockets, and the people, they don't feel old and feeble and helpless and all those things that we commonly associate with that steady decline into a pathetic old age that is so common. And so boy, going after those biological age markers. One interesting stat that we uncovered for the book that we recently published called Keto for Life. We talk about longevity in that book a lot. This Cooper Institute in Dallas, Texas, they're the leaders in aerobics. They've been doing this expertise since the 60s. Dr. Kenneth Cooper, who wrote the original book Aerobics, they found that a person's time in the 1 mile run at age 50 was the best predictor of longevity and life expectancy to age 80. So whatever your time is at age 50, that's the best way to see if you're going to make it to 80 feeling good and being healthy instead of avoiding disease. And so just quickly for the listeners, if you're a male and you're over 12 minutes, or you're female and you're over 13 minutes, you are in the needs to improve category and you got some issues. And if you can't, if you can't reach that modest benchmark, that's kind of a brisk walk or a slow jog for people who aren't familiar with, getting a mile done in time.
That's helpful.
You have high risk factors. If you're in the exceptional category, which for males is breaking 8 minutes, females breaking 9 minutes, you have this wonderful flying colors expectation of a long, healthy, happy life. So that's just one thing they pulled out. And of course, if you're a guy in the gym who maybe you're not that great at running the mile, but you can do 5 sets of 20 pull-ups or do the Murphy challenge like the CrossFit community does, of course, those are going to correlate to. They have a great study with firefighters where there's a push-up competency where if you can't do 4, you're totally screwed. And if you can do over 50 or some big number like that, you're doing great. So now this biological age concept is being, widely appreciated as certainly more relevant than the number of birthdays you've had.
Oh, I love that. That was so well explained. I did not know about the mile for 12 minutes. That's something anybody can go test. You don't have to do blood work. You don't have to get your telomeres tested. You can just go do that. Wow. And
Anytime. And if you're at altitude, hey, people, I mean,
uh,
get an adjustment factor there. My sister on her 50th birthday, I took her down to the track and she ran like a 9:15 and she was super pissed because 9 minutes is the exceptional category. But, she also hiked the long way on the Inca Trail in Peru for a week straight. And I said, you know what, if you can get over these mountain passes at 16,000 feet, you are in the exceptional category. And, it's just doing the best we can with the tools we have and the time we have in a day. But oh my gosh, just like you teed us up here, there's so much potential for improvement in so many areas, and it's not a huge ask either. It's not, and I think we've both been in the fitness scene for a long time, and you're talking about working with the population who are intimidated, not naturally fit. They don't go near a gym because it's not in their mindset. It's not their game, but there's so much you can do walking up and down the stairs in your home
yes.
that, could take you above and beyond an extreme fitness regimen.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. I think maybe it's like an Americanized way of looking at fitness. And it's, I see it in the gyms all the time. High intensity interval training as an advertisement. And to me, and probably to you and to Dr. Craig Mark and other people, we know that you cannot sustain that intensity for that long. And if you did, it's not doing you any favors, right? So I think that's one factor that might get in the way of some people's curiosity or pursuit of bettering themselves. And also, not everybody going into a gym has to be going in there to set personal records or doing crazy stuff. Just going in there, just showing up, or do it at your home. Like behind us, we have a bunch of tools, and we teach virtual classes to people at home who own nothing but a chair or a cat or a dog or a bag of food. Those are all tools. They are resistance. So, long story longer, just be kind to yourself and own it that you have control of this. And there's a lot of things we're going to touch on that can improve, like recovery, exposure therapy, fasting, times a day to eat. There's so many factors that go into it. It's not just calories in, calories out, and repetitions and time and sweat. But
Yeah, and you also mentioned with that example of going into the gym, there are ways to do extreme damage to your health and your longevity prospects in pursuit of badass fitness goals. And I think we all have to recognize that some of these people who are out on the leading edge of the six-pack display and the huge mileage on their Strava device that they can upload and show everybody how many miles they pedaled or ran that week. These people can easily enter a high risk factor category of doing extreme exercise. I talked about the MOFO mission and optimizing testosterone. If you go over the edge and do too much exercise, you will trash your testosterone levels, whereby you can pick up the article in Men's Fitness and boost your testosterone with doing these ab crunches every morning and all that great stuff. But it's so easy to go over that red line and plunge yourself into a state of immune suppression, hormone suppression, overtraining patterns, breakdown, burnout, illness, and injury. And that was pretty much my life, Sean, for 10 years when I was a professional triathlete, because when we're out there trying to get really good at a very precise and focused event, which was, the extreme endurance nature of swimming, biking, and running, that came at a huge expense to not only my overall fitness, but also my health. And if I wasn't pushing myself to the very edge of, preserving my health, someone else was training a little harder and they were going to beat me at the next race. So I had to get up there and just ask everything in my body. And, it's a high risk reward ratio, because trying to shave a minute off your time when you're already going fast, boy, it's not something that's aligned with, sustainability and longevity and all that. And that's fine. But, getting back to that, the start of your question, when you said at age 55, what do you expect? And I'm like, one thing I don't want to do is keep training like I did back in the day, trying to go on the world circuit and compete for a podium spot. And so it kind of opens up your perspective to, what do I really enjoy? What gets me going in the morning? What's a goal that's in alignment with my other lifestyle responsibilities today? Because I don't have 6 hours a day to obsess about training and rest for 3 hours after the 6-hour training block. So that kind of stuff has been fun for me to, evolve into a different kind of athlete that's, really appropriate for my fresh new goals, which are longevity, quality of life. But then I got to keep a plug in there for having that competitive edge and having something that I really, really care about today, just like I did when I was an athlete racing at professional level. And I equate them completely in my mind, like the importance or the significance and the sense of satisfaction that I get from, let's say, clearing a high jump bar in a totally empty high school stadium that I had to hop the fence to sneak in, to access the pits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll scream, with complete delight that I just achieved this goal. And it's just as significant to me as when I won the race in 1991 and was on ESPN and on the cover of the magazine and all that great stuff, because that's all we have is our own pride and our own significance and our own goal setting and goal achieving processes. So that's never going to leave me, even if I'm, the most obscure guy out there doing something that no one else pays attention to or cares about. That's all fine and dandy as long as I have that passion in my heart.
I dig that so much, and I know a lot of listeners will dig that too. Like you, I spend time in the gym as a profession, but I do not care about in the gym goals. I'm like, whatever, good form, movement, I care about that. My goal is, can I take that split board up to the top of a mountain by myself? Nobody's there. I'm not trying to prove anything, and see a new peak or a new angle, and that's it. That's my, So that
Yeah,
that really
yeah.
resonates with me and a lot of people that are taking this content in right now. When
Yeah,
it,
I mean, it's okay. I think, when you see like a CrossFit athlete, they're so incredibly impressive,
Mhm.
and their physique and their capabilities in the gym. And maybe they have no other aspirations outside of just performing well in the gym, but at least that has meaning, because they're going to go try to beat their PR in a signature workout, whatever it is, the Murph or the double Murph. Like my friend Dave Cobreen just beat all the UCLA varsity volleyball players as a 58-year-old man, just slamming a double Murph out in an hour 18 or some incredible time like that, if you know what double Murph is. But as you referenced too, I'm pretty much doing all this dedication to strength training and high intensity exercise in pursuit of some outside goal. And I think that's something that the average gym goer who's going in there and turning on the electrical machine and watching CNN for 45 minutes, there's probably some optimization there where they can put that to the test and say, hey, why don't you go climb the peak this summer that your your cousin invites you to every year, and you're like, nah, I'm not in shape. Well, there's something you can do to kind of put it out there, have a daunting goal, and take those steps and enjoy the process all the way too.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Get a carrot out there, something to work towards. I love it. Well, when did you personally kind of change your mindset, or was there a person or an event that an epiphany?
Yeah, man. It was called getting my ass kicked on the pro circuit after, I raced for 9 years, and it was, all or nothing, all immersion lifestyle from age 21 to 30. And at my very best, I was a national champion. I was ranked third in the world. I won, 7 races in a row at one point on the circuit. So I was a guy that, worked really, really hard. And I got to that high level where I was able to achieve my potential and be right there, as I dreamed someday I could maybe achieve this great height. And then from that height, the only place to go is down, especially because of the high risk that I reference. And so my last year or two on the circuit, I was just a little tiny bit off. And when you're a pro athlete and you time everything and track everything, and I go out there and I run my trail, and my usual time from the bottom of the hill to the gate is 15 minutes. My best time's 14:12. I'm usually somewhere around there. And I look at the watch and it says 16:03. Deep down inside, you're like, you know what, dude, you've had your day, and now the writing's on the wall. And it's a very it's a rude awakening for a young person who wraps their identity and their self-esteem into how successful you are at this incredibly challenging and intense and graphic, presentable goal. I mean, everyone's looking at us running around in our underwear. It's a very exposed career where you can't talk your way into a promotion at work because you're more smooth talking than the next guy. You either get first, or you get fourth, or you get 12th. So when I was rudely, shut down with my career ambitions, that's when I had to, kind of get back on my feet and go, okay, now what? And,
Yeah.
it's really, really healthy in life to say, been there, done that. I'm not going to get stuck in some bad pattern. I'm going to look for new horizons, new challenges, and new goals. And so that, what was kind of fun was to kind of explode out of the endurance world and realize there were other aspects of fitness besides how many hours can you pedal on your bike and how many watts can you pull and stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I was an ex pro athlete, I would say, yeah, I gotta start getting into strength training. And so a workout for me would be 12 pull-ups. That was my workout. I thought that was, pretty badass.
Yeah.
And it was like, that got me tired, and that was enough. And so I kind of had to take these baby steps going, yeah, maybe 12 pull-ups isn't the most badass workout you can come up with. And so the next checkpoint I referenced was when my kids were young, and I decided to be the ultimate participatory coach, because I wanted them to have a pure experience without any of that BS that we see and we read about, where these overpressurized parents are, pushing and challenging their kids to go beyond what's age appropriate and place too much emphasis on the result. So I was like the fun, exciting coach that welcomed everybody of all fitness levels. And we always had the priority on, personal improvement and personal growth, and, competing really hard and getting the best out of our bodies, but always in the right perspective. So my job for a decade was to dominate these poor little kids in soccer, basketball, and track. So every time I came to practice, I'd lace up my spikes, my soccer cleats, and I would bring it to the maximum extent. I learned from other fathers too, where I was watching one dad friend of mine, Mr. DMC, and he was beating up on his poor little kid on the basketball court, playing one-on-one, just backing him down and making basket after basket, and the kid's like on the verge of tears. And then later I'm like, dude, what was that all about? And he goes, oh, no, you got to bring it every time. You got to bring it, and they got to see that competitive intensity, and you can't let up at all. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So, for a decade, I had my fitness goal was so I could be a competent coach and not get injured and strain a hamstring trying to run lines with the little basketball players. And what was cool about that journey was right around ninth grade, maybe some listeners can relate if you're a dad and you got a kid, I went from MVP every year on every team to not even able to stay on the court and guard somebody who was, now going from JV to varsity or what have you. So, my son was very graciously inviting me not to participate anymore in the pickup games because my man would score at will every time, because all of a sudden these guys are bigger, stronger, they can jump higher. And I went right into the stands and became the biggest cheerleader. So I went from the crazy coach to the cheerleader. And then I had to find my own appropriate competitive goals. And that's when I really picked up with speed golf and high jumping, which are my main passions right now.
Oh, that's a fun story. I love it. Oh, what a nice gradual transition into what you're doing now. I had to look into what speed golf was, and it's impressive. The video you sent over, you're using a 3 wood or 3 iron. Is that right?
Yeah, so for the listeners, speed golf is an actual sport. It's pretty much grassroots underground. It's not huge, but you can look it up on YouTube. There's wonderful, if you're a golfer and you're anywhere, any decent level of fitness, what we do is we go out to the course and we have an actual tournament, a competition where you keep score, but you add your strokes and your minutes together. So we start off on the first tee. It's time trial start, like in cycling or something, and they time your trip around the course. So you're running at a pretty good pace, is whatever you can muster, and you're hitting shots without any deliberation or
Mhm.
any of that nonsense that most golfers engage in, where they're looking at the wind direction and trying to choose between one of their 14 clubs, what club to hit, and they're not that good anyway, and it's all a waste of time, and it takes 4.5 hours, and you don't get a workout. So this thing is the real deal, and you get a fantastic workout running around 5.5 miles is what most golf courses are. And you're in this beautiful kind of reactive Zen-like state where you're in the flow state automatically as soon as you tee off, because all of a sudden you're running after the ball, you get to the ball, you don't have time to catch your breath or take a practice swing. You just look at your target and you swing the club, and you allow your natural athletic ability to kind of come to the forefront rather than get buried by that analytical mindset that wraps us up into, lacking confidence and being too deliberate and having too many swing thoughts and all the things that golfers complain about constantly. So what's really cool about these tournaments is that most players shoot as good or better than when they take all day long with their caddy and with all their clubs, because I'm just carrying a small bag and I have 5 or 6 clubs and I just choose the most appropriate club, and I have to invent these creative new shots where I'm choking halfway down the club to just hit a short punch with an 8 iron because it's only 110 yards or what have you. So it's a really great challenge. It requires that fitness aspect, but also the other dimension of letting your mind go and just being in a reactive state as a golfer is a really great experience. Oh, but the video you saw is this little offshoot of the traditional sport of speed golf where they're doing a full tournament, 18 holes, and putting strokes and minutes together. And I found on YouTube one day, there happens to be a Guinness World Record for the fastest single hole of golf ever played. So one hole, of course, it has to be a minimum length of 500 yards. So golfers know that's like a par five. It's a long hole, imagining longer than a quarter mile around a track. And this guy in England, Steve Jeffs, had this amazing viral video, and his family dogpiled him at the finish line, and he broke the record. And so I went out there and I was just like obsessed with going for this record. It seemed like so much fun. And I had to set up this there's a big approval process with Guinness. It takes 12 weeks to get approved to attempt the record. And then on the day of the record, you have to have like 10 people there to make it an official attempt. You need two timers. You need a filmer, you need a camera person, you need a golf expert witness, you need a backup witness, and then you need two people that you've never seen before, never met before, to be independent observers, so they don't have a vested interest, so it's not all your buddies saying, yeah, he did it. And so I had to assemble this whole dream team out there, and I felt like the same level of pressure and intensity as I did back when I was competing as a pro athlete. And it was so fun as an old guy, 53 years old, going for this record. And I had this wonderful experience out on the golf course where, it was like a miracle to me, because what I did was I got a birdie on the par five using only one club. I hit a 3 wood another 3-wood, I chipped with the 3-wood, and I putted with the 3-wood. And I practiced those kind of weird shots for months at the, for putting and chipping with the 3-wood. And so it was a really great, like, peak performance journey where it meant something. The Guinness World Record distinction was really cool because I can brag about that the rest of my life. But, it was just like I mentioned, it was something that got me going every single day, where I had to do these distinct practice sessions and learn how to sprint full speed as fast as I could, and then hit a shot under pressure and another and another. And so really it was a do or die attempt, because you're allowed multiple attempts to try to break the record. But if I'm sprinting full speed for 500 yards and I go back and try again, I'm going to be much slower on the second or third or fourth attempt. So I knew in my heart, like, I got one shot at this record, and everything has to come together with no excuses and no going back and trying again. So that's my speed golf story, and people can look on YouTube and says Brad Kearns speed golf world record. And don't worry, it won't take too much of your day, because the hole only took 1 minute and 38 seconds. And boy, what a lot of fun that was.
Oh, that's so cool. And I'll put links in the show notes too for that video. He's cooking. It's impressive. Yeah, it's really cool. I was training a golfer this week, and I was asking about this, and he was very curious about it. So I'm gonna fill in all the details on that. And I like that style too. I don't like golfing for a long time. I like to be outside and hit the ball and run around. And like you said,
Yeah.
the flow state, that's very relatable for a lot of people who do stuff that they really love. Just don't think, just do, just react.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah. Especially in sports. Yeah.
Don't got time to get up in your head and self-destruct. That's really, really cool stuff. Okay, so how do you train yourself for your fitness and your health desires?
Well, one thing that's right. That was your first question 20 minutes ago. What's my routine like? And one thing that's really worked for me is establishing this morning routine
Yeah.
as soon as I get up. And I've never been that guy who's a routine type of person. It might be less important to someone who's already regimented and is dialed in every single day. But I'm always been a go with the flow person. I work for myself. I'm self-starter, self-motivated, all that stuff. But I got into this almost 4 years ago now, where I realized when I went out and did these crazy workouts with sprinting or high jumping, I would be stiff and sore for days after. And so I couldn't do the workout very frequently because it was so intense and so different than my morning jogging and the basic fitness activities that I did. So I thought if I could kind of elevate the platform from which I launched these difficult workouts, I would have reduced injury risk and I would perform better in the workout. So in other words, if I was doing some strenuous core exercises, getting my hamstrings more flexible and mobile every single day for a little bit, then it wouldn't be such a traumatization for my hamstrings to go and sprint, a handful of times.
Yeah.
So I designed this routine. You can see this on YouTube. It's called Brad Kearns Morning Routine. And most importantly, this was something I custom designed for my goals as a high jumper sprinter. So whatever things that you're working on, maybe you have one visit to a trainer or a physical therapist and they give you some tips, you can kind of take that and create your own custom designed morning routine that will improve things like mobility, flexibility, balance, agility, core strength, things like that. And so the cool thing about this was I wanted to make it something that I would do every day without question, without any trouble. So it's not an hour and 20 minutes of, going and climbing the rope 5 times and doing box jumps and lifting a heavy bar. It was just something that I do when I get out of bed before I even looked at my phone or did anything else. And I thought it was about 5 minutes, Sean.
Yeah.
And then we filmed this video and, I said, I want to show people what I'm doing. It's only 5 minutes. It's great. And it turned out that the duration was 12 minutes. So it felt like 5 minutes to me, but it actually takes 12 minutes because I do 30 kickouts. I do 20 frogs one direction, 20 frogs. I do the exact same thing every day, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is sort of a meditative exercise because all I'm doing is counting and focusing on my form. I had a few times the experience of bringing my phone out because I'm listening to a podcast or something. and I start doing my thing, and guess what happens? I lose count because I'm not totally focused on the activity. It's not a mindfulness experience anymore. And so the penalty for losing count is I had to start over. So now I know from experience, I'm just focused on going through the sequence, doing the count, moving methodically from one move to the next, just like in a yoga class or something. And what's happened over time for me is locking into this habit of the 12-minute routine, where I felt really, really weird if I missed it or delayed it for whatever reason, if I'm heading off to the airport or something. It was just so locked in as a habit that I started to add bit by bit. I'd add another move to the end. I'd learn a new trick from Tim DeFrancesco or Craig Marker, the fitness people that I look to, and I'd throw that in. And now my morning sequence is minimum 35 minutes. Sometimes it's like 42 minutes because I do this, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this. And I feel like that for me has been a truly transformative habit and behavior, because now every single day I do something that's pretty darn difficult. I've taken a few fit friends through it and they were gasping for air. And I was like, really? Is this hard? Oh God, you're damn right it's hard. I'm like, oh, because I didn't know. I'd never done it or seen anybody do it, So I'd say it's a pretty decent half hour of nonstop activity. And then all my workouts are, flowing from such a nicer, stronger starting point that's been, just fantastic. And then again, it's not something that's so strenuous that it's going to mess up, let's say, a planned high intensity training session like a high jump practice or something. And oftentimes I'll do the routine and then I'll go off and do my proper workout. But other days I'll do the routine and then I got to go do a podcast and sit in a dark room for hours and hours, not moving or getting, little bits of exercise going.
Mm-hmm.
But for all of us listening, if there's something that you can say that you do for yourself, first thing in the morning, I highly recommend, is a great time for a lot of reasons. But hey, I mean, if it's at nighttime or whatever, if there's something that you can say you do every day, boy, that can make compound changes in your behaviors, your prioritization skills. I should also mention that after I do the routine, I jump in my cold tub, and people kind of know me as an advocate for cold therapy. I have the chest freezer and I go in there for 5 minutes. And so that's kind of paired with the stretching, the flexibility drills, and then the cold experience. And that, it's kind of probably say advanced for most people are not ready to invest in a chest freezer. But if, taking a cold shower after a 5 or 10 minute stretching routine in the morning, and you say, you know what, that sounds good, I'm going to commit to it and do it every single day, I predict that you'll feel an amazing, not only physical, but like this psychological benefit of being a more focused, disciplined, and resilient person to all the forms of stress and distraction. We talked about some of them off the recording, where, here's this constant potential to get sidetracked from your intended workout. Unless you have 24 kettlebells in the background, then there's no excuse.
You trip over them, basically. Just pick them up.
Right. Yeah. You got to move it out of the way, right, to get to the door. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I love what you said, and it's so true. Creating these structures, whatever it is, mobility drills and the cold exposure. I can add to that too. My routine is, even during this COVID, is still, I get up, I used to get up at 4, now it's 4:30 or 5.
Whew.
I love it.
How do you do that, man?
Circadian rhythm,
What time do you go to bed?
8:15, 8:30.
Oh, nice. And the
Yeah.
lights are out at 9 or something like that?
Oh, at the latest, yeah.
What
So
about in the summer when it's light out?
that's hard. That's hard.
You're bumping it a little in the summer.
We do bump it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably 9:30 to very latest. Like last
Yeah.
night, Blake's, my father-in-law, was in town, and we went to bed like 10:30. I had horrible sleep. Because
That's impressive. I mean, it's the best time of the day, but
Yeah.
I aspire. I would love to do that, but I feel like, it comes back to bite me if I'm not totally adapted to it. You got to get in that habit. Yeah, like I say.
It's a habit for sure,
Yeah.
And what's great about at least that time frame is the dogs. We get to have most of the neighborhood to ourselves. The sprinklers are just about to go off, so we get a free, like, brisk little shower if we time it just right. And, it's great. And then also when we come back inside, they eat their food. I do my mobility, and like you, I don't do the chest because I don't have a chest, but I do have a cold shower. That's free, Turn
Nice.
it on, it's brisk, get your cognitive abilities dialed in, and yeah, it's just own that morning.
Yeah. For real.
Do you have any helpful advice on sleep? I know you talked on your podcast today, and I'm going to link to that as well, but we can all do better about sleep habits and hygiene.
Yeah, my experience is in talking to people and conversing about it on the podcast. Uh, just about everyone has the basic knowledge necessary, but we pay lip service to it constantly. We all know,
Yeah.
and I think part of it is this extremely hectic, stressful pace that we face during the day. We feel like we owe it to ourselves to relax in the evening and unwind and enjoy a half a pint of ice cream and a binge of 3 or 4 episodes on Netflix instead of the previously stated one that we started with when we sat down. I'm watching the Michael Jordan documentary now,
Mhm.
and it's so amazing, and the footage and the interviews are so captivating for everyone who knows that story of his reign, but I've never seen it anything like this. And so I'm blowing past my bedtime every night because I'm so
Yep.
captivated by the show. Now
Yeah.
that's not a habit. I don't watch anything in the previous 3 months, and then all of a sudden here I am, this guy who's glued to the TV. But I think we deserve that break. We deserve that leisure time. We deserve to unwind. We don't have to be tightly wound and rigid every single day. And I know, especially in this space with podcasters and self-styled health gurus talking about all these wonderful suggestions, you can easily feel inferior, that you're not quite measuring up to this badass level of the person that just put up a new YouTube video and showed you their amazing tricks for a winning, high energy, high money, bring it all in morning. You know what I mean? So I want everybody to kind of feel like little baby steps can count for a lot. You don't have to measure or compare yourself to someone who maybe does have more free time and doesn't have screaming cranky kids or barking dogs in the background. So that said, oh boy, on the other side of my mouth, I hear these quips like, hey, everything in moderation, might as well enjoy life. That's why I'm consuming this Hostess pie. And we have so many excuses and rationalizations in modern life. And then we have this quote unquote average that's so pathetic. We should really change the word average to pathetic. And I was writing I was making a podcast recording talking about how I track my testosterone levels, and I always want to see like the effects of excess exercise will trash those things down 25, 30, 40%. Then I'll bump them back up, working on my sleep and all these things. And, my last several tests have been in and around the 95th percentile for males age 55 to 59.
Fantastic.
And as I was patting myself on the back saying, wow, isn't that great? I'm like, wait a second, the average, the 50th percentile is so pathetic that 95 should seem to me average and expected,
Mhm.
and nothing to be in a big celebration. It's just normal. And so I'm looking at normal, and if my testosterone says 868, that's a serum testosterone. The scale is 200 to 1,000. That's up in the highest percentiles. But I don't want to accept anything less than that,
Yeah.
because that means I'm doing something wrong. I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm eating crappy food. I'm missing out on the many other assignments of the MOFO mission. So, on the MOFO mission itself, you can find that you can download a free ebook and get everything I'm talking about. It's a wonderful resource. If you just look at bradkearns.com, there's a link called MOFO. You can't miss it. And there you go. All of a sudden, you're in business with the 10 assignments of the MOFO mission. But the first one is called Sleep is Number One, because everything flows downstream from good sleeping habits. And so, we shouldn't even mention those kettlebells in the background. If you're watching on YouTube, we shouldn't even really care about what your workout pattern is, or even your diet. If your sleep is horrible, it's going to compromise all those other goals. And so instead of paying lip service to it, we have to kind of hit these checkpoints in life where we say, do I want to consume yet another show, or maybe it would be a good idea to go to sleep, and can I orchestrate my day so that I can wake up with feeling refreshed and energized rather than dragging ass. And maybe people are getting better about it, but I think our environment we could improve that and make the room more dark and
Yeah.
have less distractions and less clutter and less things that cause us psychological stress. There's studies revealing that looking at a pile of clutter in your house, in your bedroom, an unfinished, open box of tiles because you haven't quite finished the guest bathroom, or in your corner of your bedroom, there's a stack of papers that are bills and things to file away. Looking at it provokes a stress response. It's subconscious. We don't even know. If I was standing there next to you and go, Sean, what's that pile in the corner? You'd be like, oh crap, that's these bills I got to deal with. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but just looking at it is another way of compromising your mental health and your ability to relax and unwind. So getting the room dialed in so it's a sleep sanctuary, and then throwing in these routines. We talked about this off camera too. Like, if you got a dog and you're listening right now, raise your hand. Okay, dog owners, with your hand raised, you owe that dog at least 2 daily walks, morning and night, at the very, very least. I mean, if you live in a high rise in New York City, and that's the best you can do is get a couple walks around the block, that's great. But for most of us, if you're going to be a dog owner, forget about your own health and peak performance needs for a moment. Get the damn dog out of the house to walk around and smell things and mark their territory again, since the scent is worn off from last night. And I mention that right now because if that can be your routine before bedtime, so instead of a show and then hitting the remote, turning off and trying to go to sleep, you get up, you go outside, you breathe some fresh air. Maybe you get a little cold, like Dr. Marker was just saying on his show. He lives in Atlanta. Okay, not in the summer, people, but in the winter, he's walking around it gets under freezing in Atlanta at times, in a t-shirt, purposely getting a little bit of cold exposure, a little bit of hormetic stress, so that his body can adapt. And it's a great way to, if you can't fall asleep well, lowering body temperature is one of the key factors in getting that melatonin to kick in and help you initiate the phase, starting with sleepiness and kicking into the sleep cycle. So I have the Chili Pad. You've probably heard of that.
Yes.
That thing's super cool.
Cool.
If you don't know what that is, people can look it up, CHILIPAD, and it's a water-cooled device that you throw over your mattress. And so you can kind of have a cool temperature on the mattress, especially now we're recording in summertime. And, if it's hot out there and you've been, doing stuff after dark where your body temperature is still elevated, a cold shower and getting onto a padded device like that, oh yeah, that's a big winner.
You may have just pushed my decision-making in the right direction. I'm going to show this to my wife because I've been wanting to get the Chili Pad for like 2 years. My friend Eric Frohart, retired Navy SEAL, recommended it. And the best I could do was a cold shower before bed because I like it cold. I was camping a few days ago and it was like 30. I'm wearing my shorts, flip-flops, and my wife and her father were like, "It's cold." I'm like, "It's great. I'm going to sleep good tonight."
Yeah, that's the temperature stress that we've been accustomed to for 2.5 million years, and now we've completely eradicated it with indoor lifestyles with temperature-controlled environments, and it comes at a significant cost to our health and our resiliency. There's an article on Jack Kruse's website. It's extremely scientific and a tough read, but if you can get through it and pull out some basic insights, he talks about how important it is to become cold adapted and to have that ability to withstand cold temperatures and prompt that antioxidant, immune boosting, cognitive function boosting response, and also help yourself burn stored body fat around the clock. Ben Greenfield was on his show talking about, he had the continuous glucose monitor device where he's monitoring his glucose with a smartphone. I've done the same thing. I'm going to do some shows about it. It's a really cool experience. But he said the single best regulator of his blood glucose throughout the day, for the duration of the day, was his 4-minute cold plunge, that he tracked it to doing that cold immersion in the morning. Just set him up for a really great day of fat burning and regulating glucose, regulating appetite, all that stuff. So it's a huge deal to go out there and get cold once in a while. I think we all do pretty well getting hot in the summertime, and in the wintertime, using a sauna. I'm a huge fan of Almost Heaven saunas. It's like a home sauna. You can get a kit and have one yourself. Very, very affordable. And you can go in there all winter long and have that heat stress, that temperature stress. The funny thing is, when people come over to my house, Sean, they mostly want to try the sauna instead of the cold tub. I don't know why. I mean, they're both pretty awesome temperature stress. They have similar health benefits. The heat shock proteins that you might have heard about in the sauna are very similar in effect to the cold shock proteins that are, released when you get cold exposure. But yeah, the sauna wins for the usual visitor. But to have both is kind of cool. You can go back and forth and get really into this stuff.
Oh, I would love to do that. And I can see, I know people like comfort and heat over the cold, but cold's where it's at. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, when I do camp, which is twice a week, year round, if the water's not frozen, there's a creek usually, and I'll go in the creek and just sit in the creek, or I'll do some mobility drills in the creek. I don't know what temperature it is, but it was snow, 10 minutes up the hill.
Oh, gee.
It's brisk.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I have that down. But for sauna, and I got this from our friend, Dr. Craig Marker, it's hot right now. It's like 98 degrees. If I go in my truck and I don't use the AC, and it's a black truck, it's pretty hot in there. That's my ghetto-free sauna.
I know. I heard Craig say that on your show, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is pretty hardcore. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you want to jump in that car and you're looking forward to it after a hot workout or something. But if you want to be a true badass, get in there and get some temperature stress going. Yeah.
Hot and cold. Good stuff. What was the name of the one you recommend for the sauna, the home sauna?
Oh, it's called Almost Heaven.
Almost Heaven.
And it's these kits. You can get a very small one if you want an individual one, or you can get, like, I have a 6-person barrel sauna, and really easy to assemble. And you wire it up to 220. Pretty simple visit from the electrician, and all of a sudden you're in the sauna business. And oh my gosh, it's incredible. Going in there after a workout, the reduction of muscle soreness the next day. Everyone who goes in mentions this as an experience, and just the health benefits. I mean, they've only been doing this in Finland for 850 years, so
Hey,
there's some pretty good data that this is a way to become a more resilient human being, to boost immune function, uh, get an amazing anti-inflammatory response, and on down the line of, besides the relaxation effect too, which is one of the things I appreciate the most. Is I just go in there. Well, the first thing I do is I go in there and I do 40 push-ups and 40 squats. So I'm start to sweat profusely. Why waste time sitting there when you can accelerate the experience? And so then when I'm sweating profusely, I'll just lay down and I'll go into this incredibly relaxed state for 15, 20 minutes, the appropriate time length. I'm not in there for 2.5 hours being an idiot, right? And feeling terrible. But that restful effect of an appropriately timed sauna. Same with the cold tub, which is only 5 minutes, but man, you can get into a really wonderful relaxed state very quickly when you're experiencing that temperature stress, because that's the kind of the first fight or flight reaction by the body, is to adapt to it.
that's so cool. And I thank you for giving us the proper timing as well. Um, to speak to this point, my wife and I got married in this little like bohemian hippie hotel in Riviera Maya, and they had this
Oh,
thing called thalassotherapy. And it's cool. It was the sauna, the dry sauna, wet sauna, and then the cold. But no, like you said, nobody wanted to get in the cold water, right? So you would go through these cycles of the cold water, dry sauna, wet sauna, cold water, and it was a good way to get married that day. Just no stress. Just went right in.
how fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I've been I was down a resort in that area, and they had the cold water bucket on top, and you pull the string and it dunks you, and then you go back in the sauna. Fantastic.
Sweet. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. There's a lot of really great information in there. I've got pages of notes here, Brad. And I'm getting
As usual on the Engearment podcast, notes all the way.
all the way. Oh, and also speaking of sleep, do you wear like blue blocking glasses and have other things like that you recommend?
Yeah, my main man, the boy wonder, Matt Maruka, the founder of rawoptics.com, raoptics.com. And this guy's been like a health leader and a health resource since he was 18 years old. You can search for his name and listen to him on podcasts, and he's extremely steeped in the science of uh, light therapy and blue light exposure and the health compromising things that can happen in modern life. So he was a really interesting podcast guest for me, and I definitely went to his place and got a pair, very stylish and very high quality blue light blocking lenses. It's been reputed to have a huge impact on the ability to kind of align with circadian rhythm, protect that melatonin onset. It's called DLMO, dim light melatonin onset, and that's what's supposed to happen in the hours after the sun sets in our environment. As we start to get sleepy a couple hours later, your eyelids feel heavy, your brain slows down, your body temperature drops. These are all things that happen like when you're out camping. I'm sure you can experience all these, and they're very regulated and very noticeable. But when we're home in the air-conditioned environment, we got more stress on the screen in front of us, more stimulation, then all these things are arrested in favor of a stress hormone spike, the prominent stress hormone being cortisol. So if you can kind of regulate cortisol production at night when it's supposed to be down and you're supposed to have the sleep hormones coming up, putting the blue light blocking lenses on there can be a huge help.
Sweet. And I have the RA Optics website right here. I'll put that in the notes as well. A lot of my colleagues, they swear by them as well. It's I like it. It works for me too. And also, there's settings on your computer you can do to like F-Lux. You can dim it down at certain times, and yeah.
Yeah, I have a program called Iris Tech, so IRIS Tech, and this one's a little more sophisticated than the free program FLux. But I think for like $14.99 for a lifetime membership, you can choose like 10 different screen temperature optimizing settings, and go down to, really, really mellow if you're like just watching a show or something, you don't need the bright lights. But all these things, they really work. And then they also are sort of like they motivate me to not have the screen on at all. It's kind of funny. Like, I have my blue light blocking glasses, and I even have a set of computer glasses that I got from Raw Optics. They do prescription, and I try not to use them, even though they're fantastic, because what am I doing with, computer glasses on, typing on the computer after dark? Is there a better way to do this where I can just skate past all that? So it's kind of like when you have a gym membership. My gym's like 2 miles away. It's very convenient. I can ride my bike there. But a lot of times when I'm busy or whatever, I look at, my gym tag hanging on the wall, and I'm like, could I go over there, or should I just knock out another set in the backyard? And I choose the home-based workout, just motivated by the idea that otherwise I have to go to the gym. It's kind of funny.
Oh, that's so relatable. I'm fortunate that my gym I train out of is really amazing. We've hosted Strong for certifications there. It's more than
All
anything
right.
you and I would ever need. 99% of the time I just turn around. I'm like, that will work great.
Yeah.
Then my
Yeah.
doctor right there and get pet them when I'm stretching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's whatever it takes, and the social aspect of working out in a gym is great. I'm sorry we're limited by that in 2020, but there's always something that'll, keep you interested, keep you motivated. Get an accountability workout partner is awesome.
hmm
And in my case, like, just looking at the stuff visually, having it in my visual field. That's why I'm teasing you so much about those kettlebells. I can't stop looking at them. I'm supposed to be making eye contact with our camera. No, I mean, to have them visually there. And I talked to my colleague at Primal Blueprint, Lindsay Taylor. She's a social psychologist, and she can cite research really beautifully. We quoted her in our book saying that, yes, if it's in your visual field, it's a huge difference from having all your gym equipment in a drawer or out of sight, or, not as accessible as right there in your face. So
Right.
you can't see it on the camera here, but in my house, I have all kinds of hanging contraptions. Okay, I'm going to reach over. I just reached 2 feet over, and there's my stretch cords right there.
Yep.
And I should also give a mention for this new device that I just discovered called the X3 bar, invented by Dr. John Jaquish. You can look at Jaquish Biomedical or just type in X3 bar, and you'll see this home training device. And I think it's one of the great breakthroughs that we've seen in the fitness scene in a long time. And it's basically a very, very thick resistance strap. Listeners are probably familiar with the bands you wrap around your ankles, or the straps that you stretch and pull for a workout. But it's interesting because the movements that are part of this program, when you have when you stretch the strap as far as possible, that's obviously the most difficult, rather than when you're stretching the strap to begin with, where it's slack. But it's the opposite of the resistance provided by, let's say, a barbell. So when I'm bench pressing in the gym and you load up that bar, with 130 pounds, which is pretty much my maximum, man. I don't laugh, listener. I see you through the airwaves there. But the reason I can only bench press 130 is because of the first 3 inches getting it off my chest. Or the deadlift, it's the first 6 inches off the ground. That's why I can only lift 200 rather than 225. Is getting it off the ground is the most difficult. But if you think about stretching a strap, or you can watch the video after the show, the the opposite is true,
Yeah.
where the place where I have the most force production is when my arms are almost extended at the end of the bench press, back to that example, right? So if you were to like lift a 220-pound bar all the way up to almost where my arms are extended, yeah, I could do a few reps of 220 because you helped me do the first 18 inches of the move. But otherwise, I'm constrained. I never know what it's like to put out that much power because I can't lift it off my chest. Now imagine instead of a weight, I'm stretching a very, very thick stretchable tube. So it's easy to get it off my chest. It's easy to do the first 12 inches of the move. And then when I get from 18 inches to 24 inches, that's when I'm actually pushing an equivalent of 200 plus pounds in a bench press that I could never do with the bar. So it's pretty wild, and I think the end takeaway is you get a really, really difficult workout in a very short time because of your ability to work that maximum range of motion, maximum force production range of motion that you never could because you're constrained by a bar. So might be a little technical for most people, but there's a lot of good stuff you can do with today's devices.
Oh, for sure. And during this whole COVID thing, the the people who are winning, besides the dogs and construction crews, is fitness companies. I swear to goodness, we cannot track down kettlebells for my students. It's almost impossible. But like a TRX or this system right here, the X3, or other tools that are available, they really work. They're fantastic, and they're portable. And they're affordable. You don't need to go get a squat rack. This,
Besides that, they're no good, right? Portable, affordable, effective. Yeah, yeah.
Here. Oh, that's really good stuff. I think I have like 20 tabs open for notes to put into this. This has like been the most amount of ever assimilated.
Wild times.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to talk about, and we talked about this off camera, off record, about compassion, vulnerability, kindness, empathy. A couple of podcasts ago on your show, you mentioned Brene Brown's work, and I love her work too. And I think now more than ever, just a little more compassion and empathy for people we see, we love, we care about. And I see that's part of the MOFO mission number 10 too.
Right. So this MOFO mission I talked about, the 10 assignments, get your sleep going, get your diet, do your workouts properly, do more daily movement. And number 10 is quit being a dick to your girlfriend or wife. And the idea here is that the hormonal underpinnings of a romantic relationship are huge. They're like a make or break factor in your happiness, your longevity, your quality of life, your life expectancy. I mean, it's truly the most make or break thing we have. And all the research shows that, happily married couples live much longer than people who are single or lonely or in a dysfunctional relationship. And one of my favorite podcast guests that I've had on is Dr. John Gray. He's the #1 best-selling relationship author of all time, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and the many sequel books over the previous 25 years. And he has a new book called Beyond Mars and Venus, where he talks specifically about, in the male's case, your testosterone can be shot through the roof if you're in an exciting romantic relationship where you're seen as the hero, or it's a new courtship, which is obviously everything's so easy when you're first getting going and everything's wonderful, and you buy flowers and you surprise your girl and you get on your knees and invite her to go to Riviera Maya for a vacation, and then you're surprise her with a cold plunge and a hot sauna and a wedding ring. All those things are fantastic for hormone optimization and making you feel like the best you can be. And conversely, when you're in these argumentative patterns where you're incapable of honesty, authenticity, vulnerability, and all the things that Brene Brown talks about. And she talks about the negative aspects of being walled up and closed up and incapable of expressing yourself or being, being true to your own emotions, things like that. Then we have the ultimate way to trash your testosterone levels and get into these deficiencies. And John Gray describes how if you get into a deficiency, it has a tendency to spiral downward, because when you're testosterone deficient, that indicates that you also have poor regulation of your emotions. You're going to be emotionally reactive, cranky, bitchy, moody, easily angry. And so the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, and we usually have that, the usual thing we yell is like, man, that guy's got too much testosterone. Why don't you calm down? In actual fact, biologically, the truth is that they're showing behavior that's equated with testosterone deficiency.
Wow.
Because testosterone is not just the male aggression hormone. Ashley Merriman, a best-selling author of Top Dog, The Science of Winning and Losing, she studies testosterone. Poe Bronson, co-author, I give him credit too, but they talk about testosterone being the social hormone or the social status hormone. So it promotes the behaviors that help you rise up on the social strata in your group. So if it's, the athletic excellence and the pure strength and power and all that, of course, yes, the guys in the NFL who are scoring a touchdown have high testosterone, but they also studied chess masters and found that the winners of the tournaments had much higher testosterone than their vanquished opponents, and they were able to focus better and concentrate, and all these fascinating insights. She also provides an interesting example of the fire department crew is called to the burning building. Emergency, there's people inside, they need to be rescued. Okay, so two of the guys go in with the axe and slam that door down, grab the distressed person, and carry them out. And so their testosterone is through the roof, asking for peak performance and strength and power and fearlessness to go do their job. But then when the patient gets to the paramedic in the ambulance, the paramedic is having to make a series of quick calculations to give them the right dose of medicine to chart down everything precisely. So when they transfer the patient to the hospital, the doctor knows exactly how many cc's of fluid they've received at what time period. So they're needing to be calm and mellow. They don't need their muscle strength. They need their brain and their emotions to be regulated. So those are the signs of a testosterone optimized human. And back into the relationship example, John Gray's assignment for the male is, look, you got to be the kung fu master in the story. You have to maintain this air of being calm, cool, and collected at all times. And that means emotional regulation, emotional self-sufficiency. So you're not at the ebbs and flows of whatever happens to you in daily life. Everything's cool. You're going to work it out. You're going to figure out a solution. That's what males are good at. That's our primary biological drive. And on the female side, she needs to nourish her estrogen and feel like all the female that she can be. And she's protected and cared for by the male, because the female primary biological drive is to nurture, connect, and love and support and all those things. So if we can figure out just the very basics of relationship dynamics and not turn it into dysfunction, oh mercy, that's that's going to be a huge breakthrough right up there at the same level of trying a new fitness implement that I just talked about, or getting the junk food out of your diet.
Oh, I love it. Well, I love all of this. I think we need to have a part two to, to go farther down because I know you have an appointment in a moment here. Brad, thank you so much for your time. I've learned so much in this chat. I'm gonna have links to everything below. And to you listeners out there, check out Brad Kearns on all of his website, his books, all of his materials. Fascinating human being. Much love to you, Brad, to your family, and to you listeners and viewers. And take
Right on, Sean. Yeah, back at you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much. Have a
Great
great rest of
stuff.
so good, so good.
Right on.
Part two coming up soon, guys.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Excellent.